One of the problems that we have with worksheets in general is that when at first look, it's just a blob of numbers, and it's sometimes hard for some people to look at it and be able to kind of tell something from it. We can add formulas and things like that that'll kind of pull out a little bit more information, but overall, to try to get a picture of what these numbers are representing and how they compare with one another and so forth, to try to get that picture in your head is something that not many people can do. You have to be pretty analytical, I guess, to be able to look at the numbers and compare them with one another and kind of picture that comparison somehow in your head. So we have a great tool called charts and graphs. Now, basically, a graph is what you'd see like a bar chart or a pie chart, or things like that. Line, there's tons of them out there. But not having anything at all, just having a blob of numbers like we see here, is not always the best thing. So if we can make a picture out of our numbers, which is what a chart or a graph is, that would be even better. Now, as far as the language goes, a graph is what you normally would know a graph to be, bars or lines or what have you. A chart is when you put that onto a piece of paper or onto the screen. So you're probably going to hear me as we go through all these different videos. I'm probably going to say mostly graph, even though technically the graph being on, the worksheet or whatever, that makes it into like a chart, quote unquote. Okay, so just keep that in mind. So we're going to start out, first of all, with making a graph out of what you see here. Okay, and more specifically, this is going to be what we call a cluster bar or cluster column type chart. So what you do first of all is we need to select the data that we want to have represented by the graph. Now, not only do we want the numbers, but we also want the labels, all right, that we have here. So instead of just selecting like this range here, we're going to start here, and we're going to select all the way across. You can go either way you want it, just as long as you cover up to, let's say, December, and then down to here. So that's probably the simplest thing there. So you select that, and then you go up into the Insert tab, all right, and that's where you're going to see in here the charts area, and a number of different charts. And we're going to be covering a lot of these throughout the different videos. They do have something here called the recommended charts, and you can click onto that, and it will give you a number of different recommended charts. For the life of me, I have no idea how they could come up with this as being a recommended chart. It's a line chart, but my God, I mean, it's very accurate, but it looks like a bunch of yarn all mixed up there, doesn't it? All right, so they've got that one. They have this one here. They've got an area graph, as we call it. We've got the stacked column, as we call it, and so forth. So there's a number of different ones in there. So you can either do it that way, or you can actually just say, okay, I want to work with, the column bar type chart here. So we can actually just kind of click onto that. And as we hover over each of these, you'll actually see what's going to give you as far as your graph. Now, what we're going to start out with is just this very first one. So two-dimensional clustered column. So we click onto that, and there's your graph. Now, it puts it on the same sheet as your numbers here. Now, what we're going to do in this case is we're going to take this and put it underneath the numbers. So you kind of point up here. Just make sure you've got the crosshair with your mouse pointer there. Hold down the mouse, and then just kind of drag it down like this. And I'll kind of scroll down a little bit now. And then you go over here, and we can actually make it wider. And we get maybe the width of the numbers. So there we go. What I love about this is that you don't have to know diddly other than knowing what to select. Once you've done that, you pick the the graph or chart, whatever, boom, there it is. I mean, that's pretty easy. Now what happens also is that because we're selected on the chart, you'll have up here your design and format tools that pop up in regards to this. This normally would say above here in green, it would normally say chart tools, but because I've got my screen set to a certain size to be able to record these videos, it kind of cuts that off. But just keep in mind that these are the two tabs that come up because we're doing charting here. And we're going to be working with all these as we go along here. All right, now we're going to work with some of the basic tools that we have to kind of make this enhanced a little bit. The first thing I want to do is I want to take what we call the legend. That's what we see down here. That's what's defining what each of those bars are, okay? We want to take that legend and put it at the top of our graph. Now, what we do to do that is we have this little button here called elements, all right? And when you click onto it, this pops up. And you'll see in there, legend, it's got the check mark in there letting us know that we do, in fact, have a legend. But then you've got this little black arrow, and if you click onto that, it tells you where it currently is located and where you can actually put it instead. So we're going to tell we want it at the top. We click up there, and that takes care of that. What you can also do to make that a little bit bigger, make it a little bit more enhanced, you can actually go over to the Home tab, maybe make it bold, make it stand out a little bit, and also hit the big A here a few times, and it'll make it a bit larger. So there we go. The other thing we have here is the title. Now, the title is, obviously the title of the chart here. We can either click there and type in the title and hit the enter key, or if you just want to use this title here from the worksheet, all we have to do is click onto there, go up onto the formula bar, hit equal, and then click onto the title, just like that, enter it in, and that will then link the title down here. And then while that's selected, in the Home tab, we can make that also bold. We can make it a little bit larger, and by making it larger, you'll see how it kind of shrinks down. And if you need to maybe change the color of the text, you can do that by clicking onto here and going maybe with a little bit different color, whatever floats your boat there, right? So we'll maybe go with that one there, all right? So those are some of the basics. Now, the other thing we can do, since we're kind of talking about formatting, we can also click on to what we call, this is the x-axis. They call this the horizontal axis, but it's the x-axis. And while we've got that selected, we can also go to Home, hit the bold, make them just a little bit larger, like that. And if you want to change the color, you can, but I think we'll keep the color the same. And then over here, this is what we call the y-axis. We can make that bold, make it maybe just a little bit bigger. Now, by making it bigger, it does that. Now, what we can do, though, is we can make the graph just a little bit taller by just dragging that graphic handle there. And then that will then restore enough room in there to get it to keep from grouping tighter. So there we have it. Now, the way the graph is laid out right now, we have it grouped by month. Okay, so when you look at what we have up here for our labels, here are the months, and we've got the legend being the actual categories. Now, what we're able to do with this is able to look at each of the months and see which of our categories did the best, which ones did the worst, and kind of compare them, month over month. But we're comparing them to one another within each of the months. Now, if you want to flip this, here's the problem. If I said to you, what was the best month for paddle boards? Okay, so paddle boards is this one right here. It's the gray bar. Where's our best month or best what's the best month for paddle boards? Well, it's a little bit hard to see that. See, it's easier right now to see the fact that when we look at a particular month, what is the best category. But if we're trying to find out what the best month is for a particular category, or the second best or the third best, very hard to see that. So what we can do is we can actually flip the legend with the x-axis, and the x-axis becomes the legend. Now to do that, what we do is we go back up into the Design tab, all right? And there's a choice here called Switch Row Column. When we click onto that, it flips it. So now we have our particular product here. So when it comes to paddle boards, what was our best month? It looks like February was our best month, right? What was our worst month? Looks like that might have been March, right? So we can see that a lot better. Now, the quandary is that you say, well, I want to show both of those things. So what do I do? Well, what we can do is we can make a duplicate of this graph here, put it below it, right, down here, and then flip that the other way. And that way, then you can actually look at two different graphs showing the data in two different ways, all right? So how do we do that? Well, you can actually just kind of click onto the graph. You can do a right click on it, and you can hit copy, and then you can hit paste, or what you can do is just click somewhere on the graph. Just make sure that you've got the whole graph selected here, as you see. And on your keyboard, you can just hit the Control D, as in duplicate. And hit the letter D, it makes the second one here. And then what we can do is take that one and drag it underneath the other one and have it look like that. So now once we've done that, I can go to this one here and go back into the design and switch it back the other way. So now I've got the best of both worlds. Now, I'm going to look at the second one here. Now, I'm looking at this and I say, okay, I can see both of those things right now. Now, what I'd like to also see is overall, what was my best month? What was my second best month? My third best month? How am I going to do that? Well, what we need to do is take each of these monthly groups of bars that are representing all of our products and stack them on top of one another, and then look to see what the tallest stack is. And of course, that would be the best month, and the shortest stack would be the worst month, right? So how do we do that? Well, we still want to keep this. So what we'll do is we'll do another Control D while we've got this selected. That gives us another one. And of course, look what it did. It actually automatically put it underneath it perfectly. Why? Because it knew what I did the first time. I had made the duplicate, pulled it down to a certain point. So now it's sitting there saying, oh, okay, you make another duplicate. I think that's what you probably want to do, is put it underneath this one, which is what I wanted to do. All right, so now what I'm going to do is, while I'm on this new one here, I'm going to go to something here called Change Chart Type. Now, I have to make sure that I've got this thing selected the way I have it here, not any particular bar selected or anything like that. I got to make sure I'm just kind of like on the outskirts here, where you see the frame kind of go around the whole thing there. Now, what you do next is you'll go over here to and this is in the Design tab as well. You're going to go here to something called Change Chart Type. So we click onto that, and it brings us into another screen here, where now we can actually look at other types of graphs in this same category, different versions of it, I guess. And I want to go with this one right here. So I click onto that, and it's going to be this one here that I want. I want to see it by month, all right? So then all we have to do is just hit OK, and there we go. Unbelievable. So that's a great little deal there. So now I can actually look at this and say, okay, it looks like December's our best, probably July second best, February third best, May fourth best, whatever. So pretty interesting. Now, we also want to see it in regards to the product. What was the best product, all right? You know, that sold the best, second best, and third best. So what we'll do is we'll take this guy, all right? Make sure it's selected. And again, we'll do a Control D, makes a duplicate right underneath it. Now in this one, we'll click it, and we'll tell it that we want to switch the row and column, and now it does that for us, and now we can actually see that it's pretty close, but it looks like probably the boogie board's number 1, short board's number 2, and probably fly board's very close with a sailboard. So pretty interesting. So look at it, you made those 4 graphs in a very short period of time simply by duplicating and just doing some slight modification. Now, one other type of style that we can go with, and I'm not a real big fan of this one, but I want to show it to you just so you know what it is and what it looks like and so forth. It's basically, I guess the best way to describe it would be that it's a pie chart, but in bar format. How about that one? So you got an idea of that one. So we'll click onto this, and we'll just make a duplicate of this one here. And I'll do a control, remember what it is, control what? Control D, boom, there it is. Now something happened there where it didn't want to go where it was supposed to go, so I'll just kind of drag it down. There we go. All right, now, so on this one now, we're going to click onto it, go back into design, go to my change chart type, and this time I'm going to go with the stacked. All right, so there's a stacked one. All right, and I do that. That's what it's going to look like. Hit OK. And what it does is it figures out the sizes of each of the bars and what they are percentage-wise to the total. And it creates a certain height for each of them to give you an idea. So you can look on here for long boards, and you can kind of get a sense that maybe, probably, it kind of looks like here, what, November did pretty well. January, or even look at March here, pretty low. So I don't know. When I look at this, I don't really get too much out of it. All right, but again, it's something to keep in mind. Now, one last thing to show you here, and I want to show you the 3D edition of these. Okay, the 3-dimensional look of them. So currently we've just been doing like the 2-dimensional kind of flat look here, which is perfectly fine. But a lot of people like to see 3D. They kind of like to make it look like 2x4s sticking up and so forth. So what we'll do here is I'll click onto the first one here, all right? Go to where it says change chart type, and the 3-dimensional counterpart to the one that we're on right now is going to be this one right here. See? So you click onto that. Hit OK, and you get that look. Now, when it comes to certain 3-dimensional type graphs, sometimes you're going to get this view of it. It kind of gives you kind of a depth look to it by angling it like that. To me, it looks like garbage, okay? I need to get this thing turned more where it's facing me, so it looks more like this, but 3-dimensional, all right? So here's what you do. We go over into the Format tab, okay? The Format tab up here. So we've got, remember, we have the design and format for this. So while we're in the graph, we go to Format, and there's a choice on here called Format Selection, all right? So you click onto that, and then what we do is we go over here to this thing here called Effects, and more specifically, we're going to go to the 3D rotation. So I don't know what it kind of looks like that. So you click onto that, and it gives you this. All right. Now, it looks like a lot of mumbo jumbo. Like, oh my God, where do I even begin with this? The big one, the key right here that'll just pretty much just take care of it all, is to tell it that you want this to be a perfect kind of like a right angle axis, and right angle just means it's going to face you. So we go over here where it says right angle axes. We click it, and voila, and there's your 3D. I mean, that's easy. We're going to do more of what you see in here later on, but just for now, I just want to show you how to fix it just doing that. So that's pretty cool. All right, so there's that one. All right, this would have been the same thing. So we can just maybe click onto that, go back into our design, go to here to the change chart type, 3D once again, hit OK. It goes off at an angle. We click on the format, format selection, go over here to the effects, the 3D here, make it right angle, voila, takes care of that. I'll just leave that open. And then we'll go to this next one here. Well, actually, I'll just click onto here, or onto the graph, right? Go back into design, change chart type. Again, this is going to be the stacked, so that's going to be this one here, right? So click onto that, hit OK. That's all messed up. Go back to here, change that back to right angle, voila. Go further down here, we'll click on this one here now, and this is the same one. So we'll go back into change chart type. Oh, I didn't do that. Change chart type. Again, this is going to be the stacked, right? Hit OK. Go to here. Go to our right angle. Fixes that one up. And then finally, our pie bar. We'll go over here, we'll go and change chart type. And this is going to be this guy right here. So click onto that, hit OK. There it goes. What a mess. Hit the effects. We're going to go right angle, and there it is. And it's all fixed. So there it is. That's our first set of graphs or charts that we've put together here for our numbers. Keep in mind too that if you use PowerPoint, think about how easy it is to make these graphs, and you can actually have each graph occupy a different slide in your PowerPoint. So you can actually come up with a pretty extensive PowerPoint slide presentation by just having all these different variations of your numbers with the graphing. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'm sure you'll be able to use a lot of this in what you're doing on your own, but appreciate you watching the video. Take care.